Hello, everyone. Welcome back. It's been a couple weeks since we have delved back into Strahd, but here we are again, and they are in the death house. And so one of our lovely players has decided, totally of his own free will, to do a recap. And so, Jason, take it away.
I shall, as we continue in this campaign that will actually begin and end in the Death House. We had encountered Elizabeth Durst, who was the mother of Rosevalda and Thornbolt Durst, the ghost children that we recently found out were ghosts. And she was talking to us while eating some rotting food stuff. It was pretty gross. And she noticed Corla mentioned that she was somehow marked by the Dark Lord, potentially referring to this Strahd person. I think we found a letter from him, so we at least know the name Strahd. And she attempted to attack Corla, and we were like, hell no, don't do that, please. And so we ended up destroying her. She exploded, if I remember, with vermin and nastiness and general, creepy horror movie stuff. It was pretty gross. And so we ended up going into a nearby chamber that we had seen before that was filled with the leftover gear from past adventures that had come down here and unfortunately died in the death house like you do. And we were able to recover some items from this place. Cloaks of protection, some potions of healing, lots of different items. And then I think we bedded down there for a little bit, and Fel had a dream about a sort of like a dinner party with all the party members there, as well as her Aunt Morwen, and this strange individual who I think she would probably assume was Strahd, was telling her to eat. And she noticed that her friends were ripping apart this like woman's corpse on the table, and they were drinking, or not drinking, they were eating soup that was actually blood. And then she woke up, had a little conversation with Eli, just about him potentially training her at some point in the monster hunting arts, whatever those may be. And then we ended up moving forward. We found a chamber with a ladder that would actually ended up taking us back up to the main part of the house, because we're in like the basement area now. And we moved the ladder just so nothing could come from above down to us and potentially, wreak some havoc. And we ended, if I remember correctly, in a chamber that looked like a dining room of sorts. And it was actually the same dining room that Fel had seen in this vision she had the previous evening. And there was even a skeleton kind of displayed on top of this table in the same place where that woman's corpse had been.
Awesome. Yes, that is that is good. Awesome. All right. So, you all walk into this room. Fel, you see the skeleton on top of this dining room table. The bones seem to be extremely clean. There's no sorts of any type of bugs or maggots or anything on the skeleton. But alongside it, it almost seems to be on this tray where there's various types of garnishes surrounding this set of bones. And they seem to be fresh. Now, Corla, you don't necessarily recognize the skeleton, but the skeleton has a ring still on its finger. The only thing of note it has on it. And this is a very unique signet ring. It belonged to one of your previous adventuring companions. Who was this person? Oh, you're muted.
Sorry, switching from program to program, and I forget the keys. His name was Roderick of Galanthia, and he thought himself quite the dashing individual. Always walking around with his head high. He'd walk into a room and, pick out the most delicate looking woman and, go for her, that kind of thing. And just always assuming that he was the one that they'd all wanted. Unfortunately for the rest of us, he was actually really good at fighting too. So the ego kind of went with the skill. So we could never put him back in his place. But he was the one who led us here.
And so upon seeing what you can only assume is his skeleton laid so perfectly on top of this bed of garnish, the single signet ring on his finger, what is your reaction?
I think Corla is like looking in, first at the skeleton kind of in disgust, and then seeing the ring, her immediate reaction is to gasp. And then a wicked smile kind of comes across her face. So you thought you could get away giving me up. Look who's alive and look who's not. You deserve that. And I think she would approach the table and probably quite roughly grab the ring off the finger.
And you're able to you have to kind of the bones seem to be quite rigid in place, and so you have to kind of pry at the finger in order to almost break it up in order to get at the ring, but you are able to do so. And as soon as you take it, you're able to hear a soft whistling, almost as if you were outside in the breeze, through the trees. You can almost smell the scent of pine. But as soon as you smell it, it's gone in an instant. Except for a lingering breeze of fresh air.
Smelling this and almost feeling the breeze on her face, she would close her eyes, kind of take it in for that split second, and try to make it linger even though it doesn't. And then she would just clench the ring in her fist and turn from the table and put the ring into her pouch as she's turning away.
And how are the rest of you? What are the rest of you doing?
I think after hearing what Corla just said and what she just did, Fel would just give a very slow, significant look to Eli, kind of arch one reddish brown eyebrow up, and then just kind of look back at Corla as she, is in the process of tucking the ring away, looking a little put off by the cavalier attitude towards this skeleton.
Her child would ghostwise whisper to you, Corla. So you know this one. As he's like tracing the arm bones and finger bones as he kind of walks along the corpse of the now skeleton, looking at how it was murdered and so on and so forth.
I do. He is the reason I am here in this house.
A captor or a fool?
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
A captor or a fool?
A fool. Both, really.
Let us not rejoice in the dead too much here. A life passing is a life lost.
He
Whether that life be one of ill or good, it is
he
still
was
the loss.
freely willing to give up my life for his. So, excuse me if I do not mourn for his death.
I do not wish for a mourning. I would place your heart in a place it isn't. Just know that that person was once alive. Had their own goals, wishes, ambitions, deadfalls, weaknesses. And you are alive and they are not.
Well, that is true. And she pats her pouch. I will take this to his family. They at least deserve to know what happened. But I do not do it for him. No.
Doing good for one reason is as good as doing good for another.
If you say so.
I think Oscar speaks up suddenly, his voice kind of loud after such a long silence. The dead are meant to be respected, as long as they do not move. And he goes over and he's actually carefully watching the skeleton, and he probably pokes maybe one of the leg bones, and just kind of watches over it. As long as they do not move. Ugh.
So,
Sorry, I guess that's why nobody reacted to what I said. I'm like, wow, that was a really bad joke.
oh no.
No, I was muted. Eli just suddenly starts at Oscar's sudden pronouncement. He's been so quiet lately. It was just more of a weird. During Everchild and Corla's exchange, since it's the typical one-sided exchange that we witness, I didn't really say anything to Fel. Just sort of when she gave me that look, I just sort of gave her a little bit of a, yeah, I guess that's just the way some people are.
Doesn't exactly engender trust, I guess. Anyway, let's continue.
Well, I guess we've all got skeletons in our closet, so to speak.
I imagine that Fel just looks at you, Eli, just shakes her head once, and is going to start looking for a way out of this room.
So other than this dining table and the chairs, this room is surprisingly empty. Pictures seem to be gone, though you can see where they once hung. There are no sculptures, no plants, nothing like that. There's not even a fireplace, what you'd normally expect in a dining room as fine as this. Just a table, some chairs, and a carpet. Now, right across from you, you see that there is another entrance way, a hallway. And then you see that to your left, there is a way that you had come at one time. So where would you like to go?
Well, if I recall, when we set out through here, our plan was to try to get to know as much of this area as possible so we weren't leaving any unknown entities behind us, which would lead me to say we haven't been that way yet, I believe, pointing to the north.
Do we want to, before we head that way, make sure there aren't any more unexpected floor surprises waiting for us? I don't know who might be good at looking for those sort of things, but just
Well,
in case.
I will get more bed.
You do that, Oscar. Get more bed.
Well, as I said before, it seems to run in the family, my ability to locate those sort of floor traps incidentally, but perhaps I could try something a little more cautious. And
Probably a good idea.
I will draw, it's not exactly a 10-foot pole, but I will draw my longsword and sort of kind of lean into it on the floor before I take a step, just sort of pressing it into the floor, kind of leaning into it a little bit to see if anything happens.
As you press your way along this hallway, you see that it comes to this square, this intersection where there is left and right. When you look into either, you feel that the stones are, it feels colder. A chill runs up and down your spine. There are actually a few unlit, braziers here on that are left on the walls. It just seems very, very dark in here.
Well, kind of standing, standing in that intersection, I turn back to face everybody else and just sort of point to the sides. Well, looking this way and this way, it's a bit dark. Now, does my dark vision allow me to at least see a little bit in there?
Yes, yeah, you can see that in either of these areas to your left and to your right, they branch off in a very symmetrical manner into what looks to be other rooms, but you can't see exactly what is in them. That is as far as your dark vision seems to go.
Well, I haven't exactly been mapping this place out, but it's almost like I can get a good picture of the layout of this area in my head based on where we've been before. I can't imagine, at least this way, pointing to the west, extends much further, and this way seems almost symmetrically identical to this way. We could split up and each take a different hallway. And immediately I look to Fel and just say, that was just a test.
Right, good, because I was about to, I don't know, and she'll look over at Lancelot, sick Lancelot on you, I don't even know. Just kind of scratching behind the ears. Lancelot, not Eli.
Well, the hall, thanks for clarifying that. These seem to be the typical narrow hallways through here, so at the very least, we could go this way, and I'd say no more than two of us at least head to. And I think looking to the west, if I peer around, can I see doors or do they open in the hallways?
They open in the hallways.
I mean, looking left and right. So I'm looking into that little area off to the left on the map.
Okay.
Are there doors at each end of the hall, or do they open up into those additional hallways?
Oh, yes, sorry. Yes, you do see that there are slabs kind of covering what would be these entrances. If you step in a little bit more.
Well, Phil, since you passed the test, why don't you come with me just a minute?
Sure.
Is Oscar still here, or did he actually go after one of them beds?
Probably at this point, you would hear the grating and groaning of a bed being shoved down a long stone hallway from a little ways off.
I imagine where those stairs are, just hearing that thunk, thunk, thunk. All right, well, let's take a look at this, Fel. Everchild, Corla, why don't you just keep an eye on our back? And 1 second. I'm going to step towards that door to the left and down. But before I take each step, I'm going to lean into my sword again on the floor, just testing for, make sure the floor's not going to fall away.
Upon closer inspection to the slab, you see that there are the very shallow carvings of the same intricacies that were on the boxes. These arcane, almost infernal, demonic symbols. But it doesn't seem as though that they were etched into the wood, or sorry, not the wood, the stone on purpose. It was not on purpose, but when they went in, it wasn't done by a professional. It was just kind of scratched in. Almost in a frantic manner, you see all of these lines that don't seem to connect. Lines that show a mind that wasn't all the way there. And in the center, there is a hole. Very, very small. Just enough for someone to look through.
You recognize these symbols, Fel? You seeing what I'm seeing?
Aye, it looks like the same symbols we've been finding on those wooden boxes. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Probably a bad thing, I would think.
Can you do me a favor and take a look at that one over there, indicating to the north? Let's see if those symbols look any different than this one. Don't go looking in the hole. I'm not going to look in this hole.
In the hole, Eli.
Just take a look at it and tell me if the symbols look the same or if they're different.
All right. If we want to try and open any doors, I was actually just thinking about this. I might have something that could help so that we don't actually have to physically open a door. And Fel will head to the north.
Are these even doors, or are they just like...
They're just like stone slabs.
Oh, they are just slabs. Got it.
I'm getting a very... Let me, if you'll allow it, I have an idea, but I want to roll an insight check before I even say it. See if my character would be thinking this way. It's a 10. I'm kind of thinking, I'm getting a vibe like a mausoleum.
Yes, yeah.
It's very much like what you would see in the, in some temples and churches. Though admittedly less sanctified. What do the symbols look like over there? Are they the same? Are they identical? Or they look slightly different?
Yeah, Fel will kind of look at those symbols, not getting too close, and definitely not looking through the hole.
So you see that, yes, at the top half of this stone slab, you see that these messy scratch marks are still there, and you even see what you think to maybe be dried blood. But it almost seems like the scratches stop. These designs stop halfway down, as if the person who was doing it didn't finish it.
These holes that we're seeing in the slabs, you said they were just big enough for somebody to look through, like a little kind of peephole situation?
Yeah. I mean, you could probably also, like, stick a finger through it or something, or...
That's bait.
That is. You know what? I'm going to take that.
I'm just giving suggestions.
So Fel is going to, in response to Eli's question, just say, I mean, the symbols don't look too much different over here. There's a little bit of dried blood on this one. I don't know if you've got dried blood down there. And then she is going to kind of extend her right hand out. And as she does, this spectral teal-colored hand sort of slowly, kind of shakily emerges from her own. She's going to cast Mage Hand and just kind of stick a little Mage Hand finger in that hole. And like, I imagine, even though she's still fascinated by this because she's never been able to do this until fairly recently, there's like this juvenile part of her that's like, hey.
Well, if it wasn't desecrated before.
Can you even see what I'm doing over here?
You're literally like 12 feet away from me.
Yeah, all right, that's fair. Does anything happen?
At first, nothing. You see this teal-colored spectral hand. But then you hear a snap. A crunch. As if bones are breaking. And you can see that your spectral hand, it almost looks like its whole hand is being pulled through that hole. And so you see slowly as the middle finger breaks and bends, and the thumb, and then the ring finger and the pinky, until all of them are crunched together and it's pulled through that hole.
Right, so out of sheer panic, Fel is going to dismiss the Mage Hand, even though it's a Mage Hand. It can't feel pain. Who cares? But she kind of stumbles back, and she looks at Eli, and she says, "Yeah, I don't think we need to look at these anymore. Apparently, these holes have some sort of pull. I didn't know you could break a spectral hand, but apparently these holes can break a spectral hand. So maybe we just move on."
Well, not so fast there.
Oh, very fast here.
I'm going to pull out a steel mirror. And what I'm going to do is sort of lean closer, kind of trying to angle it. I'm going to hold this mirror out and sort of try to angle it so I'm not looking directly in the hole, but I want to look into the mirror and see if I can see inside that hole through the mirror without directly looking in it.
Yes, you can. And you just see darkness.
All right. All right, let me try something else. I'm going to grab one of my arrows, and I'm going to stick an arrow in the hole.
You do so.
I'm going to take it out.
You do so.
I'm going to put it back in.
Okay.
Really? Really?
Oh, so Fel can be juvenile.
You were giving me shite for that, and look, I mean,
all right, it's more of a less of a creepy vibe and more of a, all right, well, nothing happened. Let me just be okay. So something sort of reacted when you put something magical inside that hole.
right. I mean, I not that I'm, not super interested in these terrifying stone slabs covered with the random awful symbols and the scratchings of depraved mad people, I'm sure. But, I mean, we're trying to find our way out of here. I don't know how this is going to help us.
Well, here's the thing, Phil.
Mm-hmm.
In my rucksack, that's actually a wooden chest.
I feel like you say that a lot, but you don't. It's strange. Anyway, continue.
I have 4 smaller wooden boxes.
Right.
That are actually wooden boxes.
Right. Covered in evil
that we
writing.
Have found all along this way.
Correct.
And each one of them contains upon it symbols similar to these.
Right.
Now, there's a part of me that wonders if it's such a wise thing to leave this place and take these items with us.
Like leave this house and take the items with us?
Exactly, but also now that we're here, I'm kind of milling over in my mind if we're in a situation where we've seen bad things happen when one of these boxes was open, yeah?
Well, when the Everchild touched the first one we found, I think it was the first one we found, he started bleeding from his neck. So yeah, I'd say that's reasonable enough.
That's enough evidence for me to think that there's a certain amount of desecration involved.
Right?
If these are in fact some kind of, so this is some sort of a mausoleum or a crypt,
Mm-hmm.
it could be that these items belong here.
I mean, I'm all for leaving them here, if you think that's best.
I'm just not entirely sure how to get them, what to do with them, unless there's something inside the boxes. Did we ever actually open one of the boxes, or did Everchild? Okay, you did.
We did, yeah.
You
I
did?
think, yeah.
You
Yeah, I
found
think
a letter and
that's right.
a
cat
24
skull and something else.
spirits. It really makes me uneasy to leave these boxes just out in the open, unattended for, but it also makes me uneasy to think that we could take them with us. Now, I know this is going to go against, seem like it's going to go against rational sense, but I want you to trust me here.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to get one or two of the others.
Right.
Are you guys just standing there around outside the corner? Can you hear me?
Also, is Lancelot with you?
I'm just imagining you guys are just around the corner listening in.
Oscar's trying to get the bed around one of the corners, probably. You hear it kind of rattling, and he finally probably gets into the room with the skeleton at this point.
I want you to stand back, and I want you to cover me. I'm gonna...
What does that mean, cover you? Like if something horrible happens, you want me to...
Sorry, I want you to provide an overwatch, a sort of protection in case something bad happens. I'm going to open one of these boxes.
Why would you do
I'm going to
that?
see if I can find, and I'm actually, as I'm saying this, I'm taking off my rucksack and I'm going to open it up and I'm going to look through these boxes that we have, these 4 boxes, and see if one of them has symbols on it that match the symbols by this southwestern door or slab.
So you can see that all of the symbols are it's almost like the same repeating pattern. You kind of, once you're looking at all of these boxes as well as the slab, you notice a pattern. And it's almost as if each of these boxes are a portion of a larger pattern that seems to be on the slab. So they're all the same with the exception of the one that has Everchild's name on it.
Well, at this point, I've got about 3 different theories bouncing around in my head. Just...
Do any of them involve us just not doing anything with these boxes? Like, I'm not going to pretend to be some expert on magic. I'm still trying to figure out what this is, but this seems like a really, really bad idea, Eli.
I'm going to assume
this is like Oscar level of bad idea, like destroying a room in a building for no reason.
Now, hear me out. I'm going to assume this is less of a magical thing and more of a religious thing.
I mean, I just saw this hole in the slab, in the northern slab, suck in a spectral hand. That seems pretty magical to me. And then it didn't suck in the arrow, so...
Well, there are divine natures that manifest themselves in a sort of magical way, different than arcane forces, though similar. The whole time I'm seeing this, I'm kind of, well, I'm looking like I'm shuffling the boxes around, like I'm trying to make a informed decision, but in reality, I'm just going to randomly take one of the 3 boxes that's not the one that Everchild opened. Before I actually open the box, and as Fel and I are sort of having this verbal repartee, I have finally positioned the box so that I'm ready to flip it open. And I just turn to Fel and I say, I just need you to trust me for a minute. And I reach inside now this chain shirt that I wear over under my leather jacket. And I pull out this chain with a symbol of Shantea, which is a circular emblem that almost looks like a sun with a sheaf of wheat across it. I pull that out and I clutch it in one hand, my right hand, and with my left hand, I'm going to flip open this box.
Fel, are you in the room?
Yeah, I imagine like if Eli sort of has arranged the boxes and he's standing on one side, she would be standing on the opposite side of the little cluster of boxes.
Okay. Eli, I need you to make a strength saving throw, please.
A strength saving throw. Well, it just so happens that seems to be my forte. Now, the question is, which die is going to be my friend tonight? Alright. I have never used this die in a game, and for the first time ever rolling it in a game, that is a critical failure. So a 1 plus a 5 is a 6.
So you're holding on to this chain, Eli, and suddenly it is ripped from your hand, and it begins to choke you. And I just need to find my dice underneath all of this foam.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Sorry about that. Last thing I heard you say was the chain was ripped from my hand, and I exclaimed, "Wait, the holy symbol?" And then everything froze.
Yes, the holy symbol was ripped.
So,
And now it's choking you.
and now it is gone backwards and is just choking you. And Fel, you see this, and you take 8 points of damage, Eli. How do you all react, Fel?
Fel is going to, in a panic, she's going to try to cast Mage Hand again. I imagine she's just so flustered and completely taken aback by this because it's a fucking holy symbol. You're not going to expect this of a holy symbol. She's actually going to run over to Eli and try and literally kind of pull it up off his neck, or like kind of try to loosen it somehow with her bare hands, which is probably not a great idea, but she has no idea what to do at this point.
I need you to make a strength, an opposed athletics.
Ooh, +0. Come on, baby. That's a 13. Not terrible.
So you're trying to pull on this chain, but whatever or whoever is pulling on the other end is strong.
Gotcha. So she would immediately look to Everchild and Corla, and then she'll kind of look past them and just call out, Oscar, we need your help. Come over here. Leave the fucking bed and help Eli.
Eli, you take another 3 points of damage as this chain pulls even harder against your neck.
I suppose Oscar will regretfully leave the bed, even though they told him to go get it. And he'll plod quickly down the hall, the last 20 or so feet, to wherever this exclamation was from.
You see that Eli seems to be choking.
Oh no! Eli is eating bad food!
No. The chain that I'm literally trying to pull off right now as you are looking at us is choking him. You need to get it off his neck.
Oh, okay. Oscar! And he'll like grab the chain on either side if possible. And then, do what he do would be flexing.
Fel, I suppose you're helping him?
I mean, I imagine it's like a chihuahua trying to help a Rottweiler, but yes.
Well,
Right.
see, Oscar would kind of get on either side of Eli and grab from each end and then pull outwards so that it no longer, like, if he was just to pull, it could choke Eli more. So he's going to pull straight out. Theoretically, I believe that would be less choking.
Okay, you can roll another opposed athletics, and you can have advantage since Fel's
All right. Oh, yeah, we use real dice in this game.
And
Sometimes, yeah.
Everchild will come up to you, Oscar, as you go to free Eli, and he'll mutter a silent prayer and bestow you with a small blessing of strength and might as he casts guidance on you to give you a D4 you can roll in addition to this.
Woohoo! All right, where's my opposed athletics, you said?
Yes, yeah.
All right. Athletics is +6. It's a 13 + 6, so 19.
Awesome. So,
Oh, sorry, and that plus what? D4?
We give a D4, yeah.
Okay. 2, so 21.
perfect. So you feel the grip loosen on whatever is holding this chain, and you're actually finally able to release Eli. But in the process, you break the chain.
Oscar's gonna be like looking down at the chain broken in his hands. There's a holy symbol on it.
Yes.
Yes.
It was at the other end.
Oscar's never seen this before. He never observed Eli close enough or had heard Eli speaking of his faith. And he'll actually his hands will shake just a little as he kind of tries to hold it back. Fel told me to break you're choking. I will fix later.
Better that you broke the chain than Eli choking to death. Maybe we shouldn't fuck around with these boxes anymore.
Now I have angered God.
No,
God wants
I'm
Eli
sure.
dead, and I tell it no.
No. Oscar, I'm sure it's fine. Let's just get these boxes back into the rucksack that is actually a wooden chest and just leave them there for now. This is clearly a terrible fucking idea.
Oscar. You did good.
Okay.
Don't worry about breaking the chain. Chain can be fixed. And I look at Fel, but I think that proves one of my theories. That this is less of a magical issue and more of a religious issue.
You see...
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was actually just going to ask, did this all result in this box being opened, or is it still closed?
No, it's open. The box is open.
What's in the box? I'm sorry. What's in the box?
You see a lock of raven black hair tied in a crimson red ribbon, burnt on one end. On the inside on the lid of the box, you see a raven etched into the lid. But the raven is distorted. Its wings look to be broken at weird angles. Its beak, it's open far too wide for a normal bird. And if you were to look at the lid, the top of it, etched into the box, is the name Eli Lancaster. You hear Eli, you hear a whisper. Shantea cannot help you here.
I look around at the others to see if anybody else heard this. If there's any sign that they heard this voice.
I think Oscar's trying to maybe lead Eli gently to the bed that he's dragging down the hallway. You must rest.
It's, I'm all right. I'm all right, Oscar. It's, I think you might have been right, Phil.
It does happen very rarely.
I can't say that my my curiosity is sated. We now have opened 2 of these boxes. Each one of us that opened one of these boxes has had unfortunate circumstances happen. There are 2 more boxes in our possession. And there's a total of 5 of us. I don't know, maybe it means nothing. And I'm gonna reach out for the box to close it. But there's this moment that if anybody's looking, I sort of touch it kind of like you would touch a hot surface if you're testing to see if it's hot. I don't just grab it, I sort of tentatively reach out to it and then kind of flick the lid closed and I'm going to put it away for now.
As you put the box away, Everchild will go up to you. His hand will be outstretched to you. I will take them, he ghostwise whispers to you. None others shall be tempted with the suffering that I had.
I appreciate what you're trying to do, Everchild, but I do have a means with which to keep these things secure and away from everybody else. I've kept them thus far.
You kept them and you opened one.
Well, I mean, you're not wrong, but
I thought my suffering would impart a bit more wisdom than that.
I'm kind of looking at the, kind of indicating these sort of mausoleum entrances and saying, they look like pieces of a puzzle that fit together, and I was wrong, and I'm willing to accept that. If it's all the same to you, I will continue to hold on to them. I've dealt with my fair share of temptation. And I've learned to acknowledge when that happens and learn from my errors. And unless you're stopping me, I'm like putting the boxes back inside the ruck.
Everchild looks over you a bit more judgmental than ever before, as if you are doing something that will damn you in the end. But Everchild does not intervene with you taking them away.
Oscar often struggles with these one-sided conversations. He clearly sees Eli staring at Everchild and Everchild's eyebrows moving around. Oh, boxes are bad. Boxes hurt Eli and small child. Oh, pit hurt Eli. Let's throw boxes in pit. Aha.
That's actually not a terrible idea. That is something we could potentially consider at some point.
and then leave these things where somebody else could stumble across them.
And if by stumble across you mean fall into a pit of spikes in an effort to retrieve, that doesn't sound so terrible to me.
Or light on fire.
It seems clear to me that we are not the first ones to be here, as I sort of look pointedly at Corla. And something tells me we may not be the last ones to be here. And then I look back at Corla. I walk over to her. Have you ever seen these boxes before?
Have I?
No, you have not.
Roll an insight check on that. I don't know if I believe her.
Roll an insight on the DM.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay, I'm sorry. You actually have. No, you haven't.
I have not seen those. Where did you find them?
What exactly have you seen? How much of this place is familiar to you?
I have seen stone passage leading to chamber of evil is best word for it, with altar, but not much else I can remember.
And you've never seen boxes like this,
No.
symbols like this.
Have I seen the symbols?
You have, yes. Those symbols do look familiar to you, though you can't place where exactly.
No, I have not seen boxes like... Wait, the symbol. I am not sure. I may have seen it before, but it is fuzzy. I do not remember where or how. But it looks familiar to me, the symbol on these boxes, but not the boxes.
And see, here's the problem I have. And just relax yourself, Phil. I'm about to let this sleeping dog lie. But you and Oscar seem to be on the side of throwing these things into a pit and leaving them in the house. But I'd like to remind you that now 2 of these boxes have my name and Everchild's name engraved into their surface. In my experience, limited though it may be with this sort of experience, I guess, this seems like something was taken from us. Perhaps a piece of us now resides within this box. I mean, I don't know if that's just another lame theory, but if that's even remotely possible, I'm not particularly keen on leaving a piece of myself behind in something tainted like this.
If you think that's the case, then and Fel will just shake her head. I mean, we don't even know if we can leave the house with those boxes in our possession. So maybe we keep the one that has your name and the one that has the Everchild's name, and we leave the other 2, and we don't open them and we don't touch them.
I'm not exactly keen on that either. That's like leaving a trap for somebody else to get caught into. When we're going to find out soon enough whether or not we're going to be able to leave this house with or without those boxes in our possession.
Right, but I think where we're having the difficulty, and I imagine that Phil, she's trying to explain this, her hands kind of gesture, and she's trying to outline her point. The point I'm trying to make is we're trying to get out of the house. I don't see how the boxes are helping with that. In fact, you almost got choked to death by your holy symbol. Everchild started bleeding from his neck. None of this is beneficial to us in any way, shape, or form. I understand what you're saying, We don't want to leave this as a pitfall for somebody else. But at the same time, unless we destroy this house, anybody that comes in here is going to be in danger. And there's not a whole lot we can do about that except for putting up a sign that says, do not come into this house or you will die.
Everchild interjects here with a ghostwise whisper going to all of us. We will leave them here, but not as a prize. We will bury them. Bury their sins and bury this evil. This one here can lift the stones of this place and hide them underneath. None shall know their existence, and none shall fall to this demise.
And you're willing to leave a piece of yourself behind beneath the flagstones of a desecrated location, a place in which the very skeletons and bones that have lied undisturbed for who knows how long have only too recently been disturbed by us.
Do you know of how many pieces of myself I miss?
I'm not even going to.
I lack them, yet I still am me.
And I've left pieces of myself behind as well. I've seen pieces of myself burnt and broken. And I have left those pieces behind very reluctantly, but none of them were shrouded in a taint of evil so obvious as this, which is why I am reluctant to leave behind these boxes.
Oscar likes fire.
And Oscar, I'm going to admit it, there's a part of me that sides with you. But let's say you light this box on fire. The box that has my name on it.
Do mine first.
And I start to burn in front of you. And I turn to ash as the box turns to ash. Are you going to consider yourself safe at that point?
Put Eli in river.
Or maybe we try to burn one of the boxes that doesn't have someone's name on it. Maybe we focus on those first and worry about the ones that have names on them a little later. We can even still hang on to those boxes if that'll make you feel better, Eli. But we don't.
There's no part of this that makes me feel good, Felitha.
What about small fire? Little bit. Eli smoke, we stop.
You know what? That's actually not a terrible idea. Eli, why don't you take one of the boxes that does not have a name on it, and I'm going to try and burn it. If it works, great. If it doesn't, we know that doesn't work. And then we can move on.
Or maybe Oscar open box 2.
No.
Like rite of passage.
No.
Like when Oscar was young, his father tell him, smash head with rocks until they break, and then you are a man. Everchild, Eli, you are a man. You open the box. Or fire.
Some would disagree.
Eli, let's get an unmarked box. Let's put it on the ground. Let's see what happens.
Hold on.
Whoever
I gotta make a roll. I gotta make a roll.
I will perhaps sway you, Eli, because Everchild will say, whoever strikes the match shall be warded off from evil. As Everchild is preparing a ritual casting spell of protection from evil and good, as we do this.
If you can ward against evil, why don't you do that? And I'll open the other box.
Ohar! Yes.
If you could, why didn't you do that before I opened the dang box?
Well,
To be fair,
Is this the thing you could do all along?
we've been under a lot of stress lately, so give the Everchild maybe a little break, just a little.
A man must carry his own
We've
sin.
been under a little stress. I'm rubbing the red raw part of my neck.
You were in other room. You said stay here. You went off and looked.
You know what? I accept that. I took full responsibility for opening this box, which is why I am so adamant about making sure that this does not fall into other hands. you want to try burning this box, and I'm not entirely certain that's a good idea either.
We know that if you touch it, it's only going to make things worse. So why don't we try not physically interacting with it and instead setting one that doesn't have a name on it on fire? We haven't tried that yet.
We set it on fire. We could smash it. We could freeze it.
As
I don't
long
think
as we
it's gonna
don't
matter.
physically touch it. Well, we don't know. We tried your theory, which was a theory that Everchild already proved was dangerous, but whatever. We're going to try something else now. You asked me to trust you. I'm asking you to trust me. I have, and she'll kind of reach into her little backpack. I have this. She'll pull out the flask of alchemist fire. I could use this. I could try and conjure up some fire, maybe. There are options. But we don't have to physically touch the box.
Big rock too, and he points at like one of the slabs.
I
Crush
think
it.
it's
Oscar could, well, maybe not those slabs, Oscar, just because they might suck in your hands. Just other rocks, though. Other rocks.
I think it's less about touching the box than it is actually opening the box. And this whole time, I'm starting to just kind of look at all of you in turn. And you would probably notice, I've taken on a very defensive posture. Tensed. One hand sort of almost unconsciously having moved to the hilt of my sword in my belt. But then you see, as I'm looking around at all of you, you see my shoulders sag. And you hear, you may be right. I think I'm trying too hard to force old notions onto new and unfamiliar things. I have a tendency to want to keep safe those I care about. And it ain't always, worked out. So, and my ruck chest sack box is still sitting on the ground. And I reach out with a foot and just flip it back open again, where you can see the 4 boxes where they were sort of strapped in inside the box. All right. And I will take one of the unmarked boxes out and I will hold it out.
Maybe not all boxes are bad. Maybe one is good.
Nothing in this house is good, Oscar.
You see the game with the cup and the little ball, and they go, ah, 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 and you find it.
Why don't you go ahead and put the box on the ground, Eli, and we will attempt to see what happens here.
All right. I will set it down carefully on the floor and I will take a few steps back away from it.
All right, everybody sort of back up. And Fel's going to look from her left hand to the flask of alchemist fire. She's going to kind of sigh. She looks at the alchemist fire. All right. And she's going to kind of back up a little bit, and she's just going to chuck the vial of alchemist fire at this box.
Oscar will
Before you do this,
Oh, God!
Oscar wants to pull everybody behind the bed that he has conveniently in the hallway and push it up on its side.
We have a bed for it.
I'm going to sprinkle you with some powdered silver in a wording circle around you, while also saying some silent prayers as I ritually cast Protection of Good and Evil on you before you chuck the alchemist fire.
Thank you, Everchild, and throw.
All right, so you throw the alchemist fire onto this box.
Oh, I actually have 2 of them, so I will only use 1.
Okay. And it, just this, alights with this fire. And you hear the crackling of the wood, you hear the splintering. But you begin to hear what sounds like a hissing noise, and you're not sure whether it is the wood. But then it begins to get louder. And it gets joined by a chorus of hissing. And then it evolves into these vocalizations that are piercing to the ears. And you see in the light of this fire these horrific shadows emerge from the light. These shadows have large claws, teeth, horns that seem to reach out at you. And there has to be 20 to 30 of them that just erupt from this fire. And you hear this agonizing screech, this laughter, these moans from them as they seem to ignore you. But they fly through the hallway, out of sight, into the darkness. You can see that their twisted smiles are upturned in this seeming glee, this happiness, joyous, or as however much these creatures can show that. And then it is silent again.
Well, that's my bad. Probably not. And Fel will just gesture towards to you, Eli, and just say, maybe we just leave them in the rucksack for now and move on.
Yeah. Next time we settle down for a little bit, remind me to tell you an ancient myth about a figure named Pandora. As I close my rucksack up, securing the boxes inside, and I actually do, as I do it though, I look at you, Fel. It really wasn't a bad idea. It wasn't any worse idea than me trying to open the box. To be perfectly honest with you, I was on the verge of opening another one.
Yeah, maybe
just to be sure.
Maybe don't do that. Yeah. No, I appreciate it. This Fel will sort of look around this dingy, dark corridor that we're in. This place has rules that we don't understand, and it is frustrating to be caught in a situation like this and not know what's what. But now we clearly know that burning the boxes is not a good thing, that destroying them is probably not a good thing, so maybe we just leave them as they are for now.
Yep, I say we let that sleeping dog lie, and if we linger here too much longer, we're in danger of only getting through 2 rooms on our way out of this place. So,
I mean, technically, we're in a hallway now, so we've got a room and a hallway.
Yeah. I say let's keep moving on then.
The
And
bed.
great job, Oscar. Yeah, we should continue going that way. And I point to the north, not to check out those other two halls, because F those halls.
I could move stones.
Maybe don't. Let's just see what else is here that isn't blocked by these slabs, and then let's move on.
So you continue north up this hall, and you come to the point where you would actually come from, the winding stairs that went all the way up to the attic. And if you continue on, you see there is a little alcove hallway to the right where you have not yet gone into.
Yeah, we'll check that out real quick.
Okay. So you go in, and you see what looks to be 2 more of these slabs.
Nope.
But
Nothing. There's nothing down here, guys.
but they're open. They have been moved, shifted to the side. And what is inside them, you see, if you look, well, do you go into them and do you look?
Yeah, I mean, if that changes it. If they were sealed, I would have immediately been like, no. But if they're opened, I actually will turn to whoever's immediately behind me and just say, hold on a second. I'm going to check this out.
You will not go alone.
It's literally right there.
Nonetheless, Everchild will be with you in this.
Suit yourself. And I'm gonna go take a look.
Are you going to the top one or the bottom?
Probably the bottom one.
So as you're walking by, as you get a closer look at the slab, you see that on it has been professionally etched. It seems it's very deep, and almost and painted, as if it was meant to be there. You see Walter Durst, but the word Durst has been crossed out, and dried blood is all over these scratches of the last name.
Wasn't Walter the name of the baby? Yeah. What's inside the alcove?
You look inside, and you see that what looks to be a crypt. And there is nothing in here but a raised stone platform for where a coffin would have been placed. But it is empty.
All right. Let's take a look at that north one real quick.
The north one has no name etched. As well, these slabs do not have the etchings. They do not have the designs on them, those infernal designs. They are completely clean. The one on the top has a raised stone surface and a coffin laying on it. And that is where we're going to take our break. So, we're going to come back in about 10 minutes. So we will see you very shortly.
Yay, coffins.
All right, hello. We're back. So you guys had gone into the crypt and you saw that there was a coffin on top of this raised stone platform.
You don't think anything bad will happen if I open that, do you?
Not
Don't touch.
I say to Everchild.
Oh,
Don't touch. Oscar actually looks very upset that you even spoke of opening the coffin.
The light shall scour the darkness away. If you wish to approach, you approach. I will hear. I am your torch. I'm going to cast guidance on you to, help you out if you need to make a skill check to open the damn thing.
Here's what I'm thinking. We saw 2 mausoleums that appeared to be desecrated, and presumably so were the other 2. And we know that there was the Rose and Thorn children. We know that there was the Elizabeth Durst and the I forget what his name was, Fred Durst or something like that.
Gustav, I think.
I think it was Fred Flintstone, actually.
Gustav.
Gustav Durst.
And then we see up here Walter. Who's the 6th? Who's this 6th one?
Perhaps the dog. Or perhaps the wet nurse.
Well, I guess there's only one way to find out.
Are you broadcasting these Ghostwise whispers to everybody? Everchild?
No, just Eli.
Okay, cool.
Let me just check.
Unfortunately, Everchild is not like a radio signal, and they can't just like tune into his frequency. That'd be great.
I do not have a. All right, well, I'm gonna try to open this coffin.
Oscar looms over Eli. Don't touch.
I am inclined to agree. Why are we opening a coffin right now?
We don't know who this is.
Right. So let's leave it alone.
Graves, coffins, tombs. They are for the dead, not for the living. Don't touch.
I'm going to open the coffin.
You get a D4.
All right, I'm gonna try this Kraken die. All right, and the D4 is cocked. Hold on a second. Oh, that's a dirty 20 on the dice. So that's going to be. Was it just an athletics check? You said. Well, then that makes it a. Oh, I wasn't scrolling up there. So that's a 23. Who was it that said maybe it was the wet nurse?
It's what Everchild had said. Yeah, the nurse.
Huh.
I actually don't know if any of you had seen the nurse before.
Fell saw the nurse. Yeah. Yeah, we've seen her
That's
before.
right.
All right.
Everchild would say to you, Eli, it is her. Let her rest in peace. She deserves it.
You gotta be. Does that D4 only go for the one check? Or does it last for a period of time?
I think it's 1 minute.
I rolled an 8.
This was investigation or perception, you said? Well, let's see. I got a
Oscar has walked away, shaking his head in shame and disbelief.
with a +1 to perception and a 4 on the D4. That brings my total to 6.
I got a 18 in total.
Having rolled another nat 1.
No, Corla did not go into the tomb with them. Yeah, Oscar, as he walks away, I will walk with him.
The bone that is missing is one of her ribs. And this would not be noticed for perhaps her rags and clothing would conceal it, but Everchild has been around the dead many times, and he's attended many funerals, interred many people in his ritual ways, and he would notice with his canny eye the missing of a rib, and he would may not exclaim this because Everchild cannot exclaim, but he'll take note of it and broadcast that information to the rest of the party. She misses a rib.
Fel will look to you, Eli. I'm looking a little uncomfortable, and just say, "Do you have any idea what that might mean?" Or you? And she'll look over to you, Everchild.
Can I? Do I know of any kind of profane ways that involve the removal of ribs in my time? Okay. Oh, they're both the same. I think I'll go for religion at this point. Hey, there we go. That's gonna be a total of 15. And And when Everchild was in the dumbwaiter and he saw that gruesome scene unfold in front of him, did he see the woman getting one of her ribs removed in that strange ritualistic flashback? Okay. Whoever buried her here kept her rib as a way of profaning her burial. She is interred, yes, but her spirit still lingers. Her spirit still wanders these halls because she is incomplete. This is the doing of another, perhaps someone who dabbles in the dark arts of necromancy, or even one given such information. Unless it was all misfortune, but I doubt that such a thing could happen in a place like this. It seems all the evil in this place is full of intent and intelligence and canniness.
I mean, we found a letter that referenced some sort of fiend being in this house. I mean, we know from firsthand experience this is an evil place, which is why we need to leave.
And 30 of those kinds of fiends, perhaps, now roam the skies, the earth, and the seas from that box.
And Fel will turn to look at you, Everchild, and she'll just say, You know, one of the things I never liked about the priests that my father would sometimes send to tutor me back in the Daggerford house was how self-righteous they were, how holier than thou they could be. People make mistakes, Everchild. Eli's made mistakes. I've made mistakes. I'm sure you've made mistakes.
I have.
There's no need to rub salt in the wound. And then she's actually going to turn and walk out.
Fel, as you turn, and you see at the entrance, or more so in the corner, you see a woman. You recognize her clothes as the rags, though these ones are much more put together, finer. She looks like she has been crying. Her eyes are red, swollen. Her hands and knuckles looks like they've been rubbed raw. Hello.
Fel will look to Eli and Everchild. Are they reacting in any way to this?
You two hear, actually all of you, in fact, if Oscar and Corla are close enough to the door, you would also hear this.
Howdy.
Fel is going to instinctively, remembering what happened the last time we encountered some undead thing and what happened to her specifically, she's going to pull out the little rune-carved length of bone that she found amidst the abandoned adventuring possessions, and she's going to point it at this woman and just say, "Who are you, and what do you want?"
I do not blame you for being weary of me. This place is horrible. Monstrous. I have been trapped here. I don't even remember how long it's been. I'm just so tired. Sorry, my name is Maria. I was the maid to the Durst family. And she just looks exhausted. She just looks like the life has been drained out of her.
Everchild whispers to you, Felitha. Ask her if she knows where her rib is. Collecting this rib will allow her to finally rest and make peace.
Not taking her eyes off of Maria, Fel will just kind of shake her head slightly and then ask this entity instead, "Do you know a way that we can leave this place? That we can leave this house?"
She looks down. She avoids her gaze. There were so many of you, people like you, who thought that they could escape, who thought they could get away, who I thought would help me finally rest. There is only one way. A sacrifice must be made at the altar.
No, that does not work.
What sort of sacrifice? I'm assuming a living thing, like an animal, or and Fel will look over to you, Corla, or a person.
Yes. Yes. Only once the house is appeased. will it allow you to leave?
Lies. You speak lies. There's a skeleton on the table back there that proves you wrong.
This house is full of lies. This house will trick you. This house will possess you. This house will drive you mad.
Everchild whispers to the four of you, I guess. Listen to her. She speaks the truth. She has aided us before. And she continues to aid us. And Everchild steps forward. Not really saying anything, of course, but acting as if it's in response to the "we need a sacrifice."
Imagine when this entity says, it will possess you. There's like this little bit of this like crackling, kind of snarling black arcane energy that kind of wells up around this rune carved bone that Fel is holding. But she kind of takes a breath and it fades, and she says, "If we help you, potentially, not saying that we're going to, but if we help you find whatever it is you need to move on, could you help us potentially find another way out? Does it have to be a sacrifice? Or if it has to be a sacrifice, could you, I don't know, help us find a rat or something? I don't know what the rules are to this, but if we help you, will you help us?"
She just shakes her head. "I do not expect you to help me. Many have tried and many have failed. There's a pile of bones that lay in the depths of this house. My ribs could be any one of them. Any one of them that would take an eternity. And I am not allowed to go down there." She looks to Everchild and also to Eli. "But you could cleanse that room. I have an eternity. And I will look. But I can't go down there."
What do you mean that we could cleanse it?
Appease the cult. Make the sacrifice. But leave anything you found at this house behind. Please. It will only corrupt you.
Everchild is now standing beside the maid. He's holding his hand up, and I imagine he's holding the hand of this maid, and he's looking to the four of you in dear earnesty. "Lathander's ruby son and his midnight daughter have led me here. This is what his path has shown me. It is what I must do. It is what we must do."
If it helps us get out of here, then I'm for it. But how are we going to appease this cult?
"My blood shall be your freedom. That is my gift to you." "I know it is so, for the light says it to be so."
I must warn you. Many before you have spoke such noble, brave words. But once they actually got down there, Some changed their mind, refused to make the sacrifice, and that's when there was a monster, a beast, something so grotesque and evil that even the house itself has locked it in the basement. In the deep, dark depths. If you do not go through it, you will die.
I'm afraid there's not going to be a need for you to sacrifice yourself, Everchild. You claim that the light has led you here for this purpose, but I would doubt any god that would lead you to sacrifice in honor to appease a cult. That is not a noble sacrifice. That is a desecrated sacrifice. Now, I'm not claiming it's any god or divine being that has led me here, but as I've told you, by occupation, I am a monster hunter.
I see before
and we
me.
were just told that there is a monster that is so bad that the house has hidden it away. That this house apparently fears this monster. But I'm not afraid of monsters.
And I am not afraid of the dark. I will go, and those who wish to join me may do so. But as the sunset over the Everchild waxes and wanes, know this. You will be free. I can promise that.
Not to be that person, but I'm pretty sure it's the moon that waxes and wanes, not the sun. Just throwing that out there. Also, I
The
agree
moon
with
is but another
Eli.
sun, given a different light.
I still agree with Eli. I think if we can fight this thing, then let's do that, so we don't have to sacrifice anybody.
What you are saying that you will do, what you are committing yourself to, Everchild, while seeming to be noble on the surface, you've seen the dark things that dwell in this house. You've seen the evil that we ourselves have, you and I have had our names written in blood and pain on these desecrated items that come from this house. There is no good that can come from sacrificing yourself to appease some haunting spirits.
There
But
is
if-
no good in damning 4 souls to the death house.
That man on table in there, and she points to the table where the skeleton was. That man thought like you, that sacrifice would get him out.
Was that man an Everchild of Lathander?
That man decided sacrifice was me.
I am not
Look
choosing
who's dead
you.
and who is still stuck here. She lies.
You did not
This one
die, though,
speaks the truth.
did you?
It's not up to me. They gave me sacrifice. Who's to say that the sacrifice would work here? It's not true.
I've seen
A
it work.
sacrifice is not a sacrifice if it is not your own blood. It is merely an offering.
an offering to an evil entity.
I will have no part of it. Everchild, no.
Then you must not take part if you do not wish. I will descend this depth. Those who wish to follow the Everchild may do so. I hold it to none of you accountable for such things.
I intend to descend every step alongside you, but I do not intend to allow you to sacrifice yourself.
When our paths diverge, perhaps we'll speak again on this topic. but I'm glad to have you accompanying me on this, Eli. I know you are brave. I know you are strong of heart. And I know when it comes to it, you will do the right thing.
Right. So, Maria, where is this altar thing that you mentioned?
You must go down the steps. Further
Where are-
down.
Where are the steps to go further down?
I can lead you there if you would like. I can go as far as I can. And I can promise that no harm will come to you until I go as far as I can.
And
That's-
Everchild looks up to Maria as if he was just a child following a mother. In that way, as Everchild motions to let her lead the way.
It's very kind. And Fel will tuck her arcane focus back into her belt.
She begins to walk, but she stops at you, Corla. She looks at you for a very long time. You see no malice in her eyes, just curiosity. You did not die. You were marked, weren't you?
I have been told I am marked. I was there. I was on altar. I don't remember. But what you say is, I do not believe you.
I'm sorry. She looks at you, right in the eyes now. She places a hand gently on your shoulder. If you'll let her, it's very cold. But she looks at you. You were better to have died on that altar than the fate that he has planned for you. She kind of whispers this to you in very softly, and when she looks at you, they're of pure pity and remorse.
I think Corla at that would stumble back from her touch and what she has just said, and she would fall, stumble back until she hit the wall. And you can see that it's only the wall that is holding her up right now as she's hearing this information.
Without another word, Maria turns and she walks out.
Fel would kind of hang back a little bit and actually approach you, Corla, seeing that you're shaken, and just say, you all right?
No, I'm not fucking all right. This house is terrible. You are screwed. We are all screwed. This. I rue the day we ever came here.
You and me both. But maybe we'll be getting out of here soon, one way or the other. Yeah?
Right.
What did she say to you?
I have fate worse than death waiting for me.
Because of what? You're stuck in the house like the rest of us?
I don't know. But I'm not going to wait to find out what it is.
Well, then let's go.
Right.
Oscar.
He has his back kind of turned to the others. He's been studying the stone walls, and he kind of glares over his shoulder at Eli, but doesn't speak.
Oscar, I know that, well, I know that seemed like kind of a dick move. but you got to see it by now, Oscar. This whole house is a tomb. It's a grave. We are trying to find our way outside of it. So it's a trivial thing to opening that coffin here, and ultimately it seems to be leading us to what will be, one way or another, it's going to be our exit. I was not intending to offend you, Oscar.
I do not know much, Eli. You are very much more wise. But I know grave digging. I know how to put the dead to rest. I know how to mark their graves with stone. And I know not to bother them once they are at peace and resting. This whole place bothers me. I do not like it. Every time we touch something, something bad happens. I worry for you. I worry for this and this and this. And finally he points at the dog at the end. And that's... Bah. Touch whatever you want. Just get me out of here.
Well, let's see this thing through, and maybe, just maybe, we can be the bad thing that happens to this house. And I'm going to reach into my pocket and I'm going to pull out that healing potion that I have, and I'm going to drink it because I'm not doing so well.
So she leads you down south into the past all of the crypts, past the dining table. She leads you down until you finally get to a set of stairs. Stairs that are out of view for you. She leads you to a set of stairs, and she stands in front of you all for a moment. This is as I will lead you down. The next room is as far as I can go. I'll show you where this is, but first, I will give you this. And she gives each of you a small light. This little floating piece of what looks to be almost starlight. She places it in each of your hands if you will outstretch it to her. There's something about you all. Please take this. These are the last few shards of my soul I have left. Use them to heal yourselves, to fortify yourselves. And with my sincerest gratitude. She kind of attempts a small smile. And so what these are essentially going to be 2 uses of a healing potion.
Fel is not going to accept her little bit of starlight. She's just going to kind of look at it and just say, maybe you should keep that, especially if, like you said, there's not much left. If you're going to find your missing bone or whatever, I'm assuming you'd need pieces of your soul. I don't really know how this works, but you can keep it.
The house has taken from me all that it is could. The Durst took everything from me in life. This house takes everything from me in death. Please, this is something that I am finally giving away.
This is the definition of a noble sacrifice.
Everybody is all about noble sacrifices today. All right. And she'll go ahead and take it. Thank you, Maria. I appreciate it. Maybe not all of the unliving are as awful as the ones we've encountered so far. And she'll take the little soul shard.
One more thing for you. She looks to Felitha. And from seemingly nowhere, she produces this very large book. It has a red jewel on the front of it, and it is closed and locked.
That's a really cool looking book.
Take this, but do not open it until the time is right.
How will I know when the time is right, exactly?
She smiles. Talk to the one. They call the Madam.
Did Stanimir mention a madam? He mentioned Madam Ava, didn't he?
Yep.
So Fel will, because she's smart-ish. Would that be Madam Ava?
Yes, I believe that is what she calls herself.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to her words.
Where can we find her? We were going to see her originally, actually, before we got sidetracked. Terribly, terribly sidetracked.
She will find you.
Ah.
But you have to be willing to listen.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Remember, do not open it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Right.
Right. Thank you. And she will kind of shove it in her little bag. Right. Thanks.
And with that, she continues on down the stairs. And so, once you are down the stairs, you see a very large room filled with many, many pillars. And along each of the wall are these small indents that seemingly have these odds and ends placed in them. You see a small mummified yellow hand with sharp claws on a loop of rope. On another, you find a severed finger. These seem to be meaningless odds and ends, trinkets, but they sit prominently along the walls of this room. And she brings you to kind of the southeast part of the room. You have two paths. If you want to get this over quickly, I would suggest you go down this one. But if you want to learn more truths, you may travel down the other one. But I cannot go any farther than this. And be warned, the road to truths. There are many trials along the way. Good luck to all of you.
Thank you for the book and the soul pieces.
There was one good Durst in the family. Gustav. He was a decent man. Just that woman corrupted him. Remember that, please.
Fel will nod and then kind of glance over to Eli and the Everchild and Corla and Oscar, kind of seeing which way they want to go, truths or getting this over with.
Oscar's definitely like looking everywhere he can to not see this lady. He will not like ever make direct eye contact with her. He's extremely uncomfortable even in her presence. But when he senses a little bit of quiet, out of the corner of his eye, he kind of sees Fel gauging the others. Ah, what is truth in a house of lies? I say we go short path.
I'm inclined to agree. Actually, I think it's time we left. If it is possible to leave.
I am inclined to disagree. If, and she looks at Everchild, you are determined to go through with this, then you should know at least what you are getting into.
The light will show me the way. As it always have, as it always has, and always will.
Ugh, you are so infuriating.
And Everchild walks forward.
While all this is happening, you would hear the metallic clatter of a blade being dropped on the ground as I throw the windmill longsword that I had taken from the mantelpiece when we first entered the house. I take off my leather jacket and I pull off the chain shirt, swapping it out for my leather armor, dropping the chain shirt next to the sword. I open the chest and I carefully take out the 3 remaining boxes and I place them on all three of them on one of those alcoves. I pull out an extra mess kit. I think that's everything. The stuff that was found inside the boxes would be in the boxes. I wouldn't have taken those out. Like the raven hair or the black hair and the letter and all that stuff. Anything that didn't already belong to me when we entered this house, I'm removing. I think that's everything, I believe.
Yep.
Everchild will follow suit.
So let's see. I'm going to delete this stuff. So I'm setting this all down. Heeding the words of Maria to leave anything that we found in the house.
Well, careful. By the letter of the word, we've found everything in the house.
Well, the way I look at it is that these items that I'm placing are things that were a part of the house. The items that belonged to us were a part of us. I may not be right in that, but I'm believing that my chest, my own weapons, those things were were additions, but these other things were claimed by the house, whether they belonged to somebody else or not. I'm inclined to listen to the words of this woman.
Just a thought before you both leave all this stuff here. Maybe we wait until after we've fought the terrible monster and then leave it?
I
And
have no
risk-
need for golden cutlery and a lantern to fight whatever trials may come my way.
And I
True
have
enough.
no desire to risk being possessed by something that belongs to the house. I would prefer to remove any foothold before we potentially battle with any of this house's entities.
All
So-
right.
Corla is also removing like the cloak of protection, and there was that healing potion and a silvered short sword. And as she places those down in the pile, she gets all quiet, and then she looks to Everchild. And what about me? You found me here.
But
And
you're
yes,
not.
and soon you shall be free of this place.
But you didn't originate in this house.
But
If you wish to admit being part of a prop in this great game, you may do so. But I see it in your heart, and I know you from before. You're not such a
But
prop.
if what they are all saying is true, then I have been marked by house. I've been claimed. I will stay here while you go do what you need to do.
If that is your wish, I cannot deny you that.
I'm sorry, Karen. I'm an insight check. I want to insight check Karen or Carla. This is at this point. This almost seems suspicious. Um, that's an 18 on insight. I'm just looking at you suspiciously, like trying to discern your motivation. Are you sincere, or is there a glimmer of something else there?
I believe what I am saying. I am unsure. You could probably tell that I don't really know, but I believe what I am saying to you.
I point at the pile of things that we have dropped. Every one of those items is a soulless vessel or soulless thing. They are just items. But you're a person. You are a living, breathing entity. I can't believe that you would fall under the same potential as these mundane things. I think you're so much more than what you think you are.
And besides, if we're going to be fighting a monster, we could probably use all the help we could get.
Well,
If you are
there's
willing
always
to
that
risk.
too.
If you are willing to risk it. And she'll turn and walk towards where you guys are. And then at the last moment, she remembers her pouch. And she digs in the pouch, pulls out that signet ring, and throws it extremely hard at the pile that we've been making on the floor.
So, which way are we going?
I'm still favoring the let's get this over with route, but majority decides, I suppose.
Oscar is big. He counts as 2. No lies. Short way.
It's a very convincing argument from a very large person.
Oscar wants to go the short way. Phil wants to go the short way. Corla wants to go the long way. What does every child want to do?
The ever child to walk the path Maria showed before him. What shall be done, shall be done. I know this.
Just once, I'd like a straight answer out of this guy. Which path do you want to go?
Noble sacrifices and cryptic responses seem to be like standard procedure at this point, to be honest with you.
He'll motion to the short way, obviously. But
Somehow,
he does not give an uncryptic answer.
somehow I feel like the so-called short way is going to end up being the longest way. But I'm inclined to agree with y'all. All right. And I kind of look at Corla and just sort of shrug. I mean, majority rules, I guess. And Oscar apparently counts for 2. The short way it is, and I'm actually going to start leading the way with my crossbow at the ready.
And so you start walking. You see that there is a slope leading down, and at the bottom is this muddy water. It comes up to about your ankles. Well, probably the knees for our vertically challenged folk. And you begin to wade through it into the darkness. And for a moment, our scene shifts. No longer are we in the depths of a dungeon, but in a room finely furnished. Paintings, game heads lining the walls. Golden filigree decorates every piece of furniture. People move about, doing various things, each lost in their own minds. A man with dark hair, tall and gaunt, sits on a chair that is at the head of this room, almost like a throne. The chair is golden, plush, and you can smell the scents of rose and mint. And you can hear just the steady hum of a place so large that it almost needs just so many people to keep clean, to maintain. And that's what these people are doing. The man sits there idly, hand on his head, almost looking bored. Then he sees a figure at the other end, stepping towards him with a hurried quickness, though she is limping. Her hair long down her back. Her face now restored to the beauty it once held, no longer filled with blackness. Elizabeth Durst walks down this long room, her eyes transfixed on the man. He looks at her with the same bored expression, unmoving, unchanging, unwavering. She immediately kneels before him, almost dropping her head to the floor. Master, I'm sorry. I failed you. But I'm alive. Your gift has no bounds. Thank you. You finally gave me what I wanted. And she looks up and she's almost crawling towards him on her knees. You gave me eternal life, the eternity to serve you. Thank you. The man looks at her. And he nods over to one of these men stationed around. They immediately come and they pin her down to the ground. She begins to scream. What is going on? Master, please help me! Please! What are they doing? And you see another with a long sword. He unsheathes it. He places the sword above his head, poised above her. And he brings it down with all of his might. And that is where we're going to end the session. So, thank you everyone for tuning in, and I'm excited that we managed to get back into this, and I'm really looking forward to the next session. I think it is going to be a doozy, and also you all can level up to level 3. So, yay! All right, anyway, thank you everyone who's watching now and in the future, and all of these awesome, amazing people. You can find them on all the social medias, and they're amazing, and they're awesome, and yeah. So, also tune in to Mini Terrain Domain on Twitch on Thursday, which I will be returning after somewhat of a missed in action to the Forge of Fury, which is an awesome game. So I hope you guys tune in. And as well as on Friday, we have a certain game on a certain channel. On Karen's channel, Myth and Gears, we will be returning to the Dark Secrets on Cobbled Streets. Is that right? Close enough?
Close enough.
Okay, it's a long name. I know. I just call it the awesome steampunk game. So anyway, that is an awesome. It is using the Genesis system, which is a lot of fun, and there's some awesome players on there as well. So thank you everyone, and have a good night.